Oma na keiki o Hawaiʻi nei.
In Hawaii, music has always been much more than entertainment. It is the key to our culture and our way of life. Though our chants and the dances go back 2,000 years and more, the songs we call Hawaiian now began to take their shape sometime in the 19th century, when ancient voice and rhythm patterns from out there in the middle of the Pacific first encountered new instruments and other voices arriving by ship from far-flung ports around the globe. From this fusion, something new began to form. The melodies were Western, the words and the poetry of the words were Hawaiian.
Aloha, I'm Eddie Kamae. I have played the music of these islands for 40 years. It seems to be always changing, and I have often wondered, where did our music come from? I hear the answer in the songs that still mean the most to me, by composers who not only wrote in Hawaiian, they thought in Hawaiian.
The earth, the Aina, was the sacred source, and our ancestors honored the forms of nature every day. Here they found their rhythms, their instruments, and the inspiration for their chants, dances, and songs. Musical expression was at the very center of early Hawaiian life. In their isolated island world, nature and culture were intertwined. They found music all around them, in the wind, in the sea, in the rocks along the shore. This modern-day Hawaiian song describes a beach as ancient as these islands, where stones clink together in a rushing surf. Volcanic stones that once were rivers of orange lava have become a cove of singing rocks. Some folks call it the first Hawaiian song. And as they have done for many centuries, dancers still travel to such places, searching for this sound, searching for the round, flat stones we call iliʻili.
Lauahi pele kai o puna, onia kai o malama. Lauahi pele kai o puna, onia kai o malama. Malamai ke kanaka, ahe pualaha ole. Malamai ke kanaka, ahe pualaha ole. Aina mai kai noa, kua ka puohi ia kai. Aina ina mai kai noa kua ka puohi ia kai. Hei noa no, hiaka I kopoli o pele.
Hawaiians, when I say Hawaiians, I mean my ancestors, our ancestors, had a very nice way of reflecting on what had happened, what they were doing right now, when children were born, who was the ali, whether the ali was mean or whether the ali was good. About their love life, about the love life of people who were trying to keep it a secret. They had a very nice way of reflecting upon this. And this eventually came out to be their music. And so they composed poetry about this, and then they put it to a little tune. And even in their prayers were done, to this particular kind of tune. And the tune had only like 2 or 3 notes up and down. So,
Early Hawaiians had no written language. Our history was in the music. Chanters, singers, and dancers kept our stories alive to tell themselves and all later generations who we were, where we came from, what we saw, felt, and heard.
The missionaries came to Hawaii and introduced their kind of music to Hawaii. The Hawaiians, or our ancestors, were very interested in that because here they were used to listening to the things of nature. They were used to listening to the winds. They were used to listening to the different birds in the forest and how the wave washes up against the shore. So these are the sounds that they were imitating. And now here was another kind of music that they could copy, and this music focused on the voice range, taking the voice range to an even wider range than they were used to, and so they were real intrigued with this. Whoa, what is this? So I think that's why most of our people went to church, because they wanted to listen to the music and catch on to the music.
When converts first begin to sing, wonder, 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 their happy souls are on the wing. Wonder, wonder, wonder,
Though the sounds were new, the idea of sacred and ceremonial music was very familiar. Many of our chants, our oli, express deep reverence for gods, ancestors, and the mana, or spiritual power of our islands. The Reverend Hiram Bingham was a trained music teacher in the first shipload of missionaries sent to Hawaii from New England. In 1820, he formed a singing school in Honolulu, where we first began to learn the basics of Western music, along with the singing of Christian hymns we call himeni. Bingham translated dozens of hymns into Hawaiian. 3 years after landing, he published Na Himeni Hawaii. The first edition was so popular he went back to press. By 1832, 52,000 copies were printed. With these, singing schools spread throughout the islands as growing numbers of Hawaiians took to the spirit of the new music. Lorenzo Lyons carried on the missionary work of Reverend Bingham. Closer to the people and fluent in Hawaiian, he translated over 900 Christian songs. We called him affectionately Makua Laiana, Father Lyons. He made church music more appealing and more familiar by introducing gospel tunes, easier to sing than the statelier hymns of Bingham's era. These new himene were soon heard in churches and homes on every island. Laiana is best remembered for his lyrics to Hawaii Aloha, still a Hawaiian song often heard today. All during the 19th century, as congregational singing spread, it became a new kind of training ground for island voices. Before long, there were church choirs led by Hawaiians, and some of these have been heard continuously now for over 150 years. Jacob Maka for years led the Waiole Church Choir at Hanalei on Kauai's North Shore. Born the son of a taro farmer in 1906, he is buried next to his beloved chapel. Maka was among the first composers of Hawaiian ancestry to write original himene in his native tongue. His songs and the arrangements he perfected are still heard every Sunday.
Music was Jacob Maka's passion. The man loved to sing, at parties in church or just for the joy of it. He played guitar, ukulele, and saxophone, and traveled throughout Hawaii performing for cheering crowds. He was a fantastic entertainer. Musicians like Maka brought the music home to us and taught us to sing with our hearts.
Music was even done in the car when we rode to Kilauea Theater, which was about 14 miles from where we lived in Ha'ena. And when we were going on our way to the theater, Daddy would start a song, maybe Hano Hano Hanaleo, or even a church number, a hymn, Yesu no ke kahuhipa. We all would have to take a part, a different part. That's how we learned to sing in harmony. So if I sang flat a certain part of the song, he'd say, Helena, you were wrong. Let's do that again. So everybody was punished because I was wrong. And we would do it over again and perfect that wrong part in the song. This gave us a good ear, and it had helped us to appreciate music because we could hear all the beauty that was sung, that we created.
I don't know how I was so lucky, but I guess it started with my grandfather, Jacob Kauahi Maka, who was the choir director way, way back before I was even thought of, I guess. And then when he passed on, my mother, Marjorie Leilani Maka, stepped in and took over the choir and did it for about maybe 28 to 30 years approximately. And then as she was getting ill towards the end of her life, she started to make me do it. Up to then, I was just playing the piano for the church. And then she said, well, I guess it's your turn because there's no one else to take it over. And I hope that one of my daughters will be maybe the next choir director when I pass on.
Daddy's time, all the singers were Hawaiians or Japanese that were born here, so we considered them all Hawaiians. And they sang in parts, and we would rehearse together. And Wednesday night was choir practice. Everybody had to come. Everybody had to sing, and that is where we learned again how to read music. Now today, as I think back of the wonderful things he did, you know, when you're a child, you don't cherish these things. I mean, I had to do it, you know. Daddy said so, and so we did it. But now that I'm older, I'm now 62, and have lived a nice, happy life, music has always been a part of me. Daddy was the one who had encouraged us to love music and to do everything from the heart. So when we sang, it was joy expressed from the heart. In whatever song that Daddy had taught us, the meaning was important, and not only in singing, but in our living. So I'm very fortunate to have had a dad just like that.
Music had the power to draw Hawaiians into the early mission churches. In Maka's day, it also played a role in local politics, as Hawaiian candidates sang their way to the ballot box. Sometimes they would travel the countryside singing from the back of a flatbed, calling out to the voters for support.
E vai ho ka hela hela nei Aloha e ka ua a ohana le He aloku nei ho I ke o He o nei a he na hamanu E ho he no nei I ka pua rose A he pua, we o ina uile. Uana ni haua ina ni hala.
I remember Mama saying, don't listen to your father. They make a lot of promises and they don't keep them. And that's sort of lived with me. But he'd sing. He was a singing politician. If he were addressing Japanese people, he would sing a Japanese song. If he were addressing in his campaigns Chinese, he will speak Chinese. Portuguese likewise. And so he was loved by all his people. When he ran for representative, he won outright. No question about that. Everybody wanted Jacob Maka. And I think he really made it through singing.
Terrific, boy. This is what you call a concert. Just like Jacob Maka and Old Man Aloha Kea.
Oh,
We're just carrying on for what they
now
did.
You're talking musicians now.
That was the days.
Few veteran performers still remember the early years of this century when new rhythms were shaping the music of Hawaiian composers. Jacob Maka had a close friend, Alfred Unauna Alohikea. He too was a popular politician and a singer inspired by the country around Hanalei. Many still consider Alohikea the poet laureate of Kauai.
I never did read anything from his writing. I never seen any scores that he wrote. So everything he wrote is in his mind. Grab the guitar and he composed. He writes songs immediately.
I first got together with Alfred Unauna Alohikea when I was 17 years old. And he decided to take me under his wing and, tutor me, so to speak. Teach me how to say the Hawaiian words correctly so that no one will have any problem figuring out what you're saying. He was a stickler for enunciation, pronunciation, and to be distinct when you're saying the words. He always told me that the words of a song were the most important part.
Alohikea is one of my favorite composers. Something about his music just wakes you up. He was the man who bridged the old and the new. When he started composing, ragtime and jazz were in the air, and you can hear it in his melodies. But his words come from somewhere else. It's a kind of writing you don't hear much anymore, still in touch with the long tradition of our poetry. Songs that speak to Hawaiians.
People used to request, Hanalei! When he's political campaign, when he was stump speaking. Then he would say to the audience, okay, I'll give you Hanalei, and you promise to give me your vote. That's what Alohikea said. And he got him. But he was some showman, that guy. Key. Jacob Maka too. Jacob Maka.
Koloi.
They could make any audience weep or laugh. Gee, they had a kind of song that, touch you in the heart and you would cry like babies. I mean, that's the kind of mana they had. You know what I mean? That's their gift. Alohikea, he knew all the kaunas in the Hawaiian language. And that's what he put in every one of his songs, a lot of that double meaning in there, but you gotta be pretty well knowledgeable in the Hawaiian language in order to unravel those mysteries that he put in there. The kind of stuff that Alohikea wrote was classic.
All Ka Helena o ia pua I a koia popohe mai nei Iauka ho'i na lele ai me ke ala
is a flower. I think it's near the mountain or by the side of the mountain. And the rain is coming down. Can you hear in a pali? Here you have the pali. That's a man, that's strength. And that's protection. And that's stationary. It doesn't, mountain doesn't move. It's more like a man that once he made up his mind, that's it. Now this little flower is from the English word lily. Lily, lilia, And so this is the name of this lovely woman. Her name is Lilia. And the rain that's coming down side of the mountain where this flower is, and you notice that it has been plucked. He pu'oi ua aku ia. But can you hear in the pali? The rain is going up there to the pali. See, the word popohe means it's a lovely flower. It's well-shaped, well-formed, and it's already been plucked. But even though it's been plucked, it's still a lovely flower, and he wants it. The Hawaiian people, they will sing a song just for the ordinary people to know that it's about a lovely flower. But intimately, it's his own love affair with whoever he's singing about. And only those that are really know the language can really know how much he loves her.
The Hawaiian language is fast disappearing. Not so much the words themselves, but the understanding. Whenever I sing a song composed in a traditional way, I help keep the poetry alive. It is still in there. It gives the song more life, especially for the old folks. I love to sing for them. They really do enjoy the songs. It's because they hear the wordplay, the hidden meaning, the kauna.
Auhea, wale ho'i owe, ike kai hawana ne, ike one.
Kai hawana means the whispering waves. That's a beautiful song. That's a man that loves his ocean and the sea. And so he relates that to a love of a woman. It's not a loud, it's a caressing, soft, spoken woman.
Ikahana ke aloha vehe ala ei maiana auhea wale ho'i owe ike kai hawana nei ike one.
You see, the Hawaiian people, when they compose a song, especially when they're in love, everything around them reminds him of love. The caressing of the wave, the whispering of the wave, you know, and the wind that passes them. All of these things are all little emotions of love. You know, that's why they can relate to these things, because they are part of these things. And so when they talk about the Kaiha Wana Wana, that means they're in there and these waves are coming, softly, just whispering. And then in that whispering, they can think all these lovely things, like they're hearing the voice of a woman expressing her love for him. And then the waves coming up and caressing his body, like the woman caressing him, you know. And the ocean sometimes is warm, and so that's where the warmth is. So it relates to the woman with the warmth of her arms in her bosom, in his bosom, and cooling and refreshing like the waves. See how they relate to the things of nature. It's so beautiful. They are people of the land. You know? It's not just walking on it. It's part of them.
You can hear the sound, and the sound gives you a sense of Hawaii. But when you read the poetry, it takes you to Hawaii. If we choose to use certain kind of vegetation, that's because we know of all of the different levels of understanding, not only for the vegetation, but for the word. Okay. So if I'm using lehua or hopoi lehua, I'm not only talking about that flower that we recognize as lehua, but because lehua belongs to the island, because lehua belongs to a fresh lava flow, and it grows in abundance on a fresh lava flow, and it grows from this ground, they compare it to the people who is from this land and grow from this ground. So the lehua then becomes a person, or the lehua becomes the people of this land. So that's the idea of a kauna, and that's the idea of using certain kinds of vegetation. When they use the ulu, for instance, the ulu is always good to eat. Ulu grows in abundance. So ulu means a lot of growth, but also ulu means to inspire. In the one mele, or in the one song, they used the ulu that was growing down in the Puna area. And this woman was from the Puna area, so they're comparing her to this ulu. But they're telling this boy that likes this woman, this boy is from another place, is saying that she is like this ulu. In other words, sometimes when there's the tree is so abundant, they say only pick the ones that you can reach. Don't go out there, way out there on that branch right there, and try to pick that ulu over there, because that ulu doesn't belong to you. This one that you can reach for belongs to me. So what they're saying is to this boy is, this girl belongs to Puna, and you're reaching way out to Puna to get her. You have no business with her. Go back to your own place and reach for your own ulu in your own backyard. And so they use things like that in their writing or in their description of what they want to describe. And sometimes they're very sassy, in who and how they describe things.
Well, they went to the mainland. A showman came from New York and came to the concert in Honolulu at the KP Hall. And so the program went on. And when that was closed, a man came up and he hired my father and his orchestra. And they went and never see him again.
Sam Nainoa was in the first generation of performers to take our music overseas. Before World War I, he had traveled from Honolulu to Los Angeles to New York. Like so many islanders today who live away from Hawaii, he stayed connected to his homeland through the music. For many years he taught guitar and voice, while the memories of our islands continue to inspire his songs.
Makana Kamanao Ahele ai na ke aloha e aloha e ana noa I ka puni he mole a o ka hana wale maui hola noa o ka hola le I ka hoho
Kohina Ka Lau Apuni tells the story of a man who has been given a beautiful woman's kerchief and wears it around his neck, a lei of aloha. Like a ring upon his finger, it has sealed their love. At 92, Eugenia still is a trooper. As a child, she performed with her dad playing ukulele behind his violin. At home with Mei Lu, her daughter, she still delights in singing his songs. Like other composers of the time, Nainoa added to the wordplay by including English phrases.
For you and that's our love song.
Naua me au I ako I kole Naua me au kai haku Naua me au kai uo ko lei nani ka hiko ia maila e ka ola e for you
Tutu, aia I ka ala-ala'a, ku uahi ku puna waihine. Ua nui kono maula, o ka noho ana I ke au nei. Kana hana I ke kakahi aka, o ka wehe I ka paipala nui. Ki aku laina maka ani-ani, a peinei e kauai. E aloha kākou iaia, e malama kākou ia tutu. E hoano kākou iaia, ko kākou kupuna waihine. A kau mai I ke ahi-ahi, ho o mākaukau e pule. Ki aku laina maka ani-ani, aue, ua nalo wale. Aia I ka lai kai kauai. Ua poina loa I luna I ka lai.
These words were composed by our last queen, Liliuokalani. I love her writing because it is so down to earth. Whether the song is about a famous voyage or a scene from everyday life, the Queen's poetry always came from her heart. And the words take you back. They let you feel what it was like during her time in Hawaii.
Well, she was definitely a poet of a high rank. I mean, she was definitely probably one of the great poets. And it varies in all her songs. You know, sometimes she's pretty much straightforward. You know, like that song "Tutu," for example. You know, she's going down to you know, Ka'ala'ala, you know, where her tutu live, and talks about how she likes to take out the Bible and read the Bible. You know, and just tells a simple story. No heavy symbolism or anything. Just a nice simple story about an everyday occurrence of Tutu going and taking out the Bible and reading the Bible and having the glasses, losing the glasses on Makani'ani. And so in that kind of instance, it's kind of very straightforward. But yet out of that comes, out of that simplicity, comes an opportunity for us to get a window into the life of a Hawaiian family. When we do her songs, you kind of get the sense of what happened to her life right then, you know, at that moment. You get her feelings. You get actually her actual feelings of what was occurring at the moment, I should say. And I think that's the beauty of her poetry and her songwriting.
Nani Nā Pua, which appeared in Boston in 1869, is said to be the first Hawaiian song ever published. It is one of the hundreds of songs written by our Queen: romantic songs, patriotic songs, devotional songs, and hymns. As our poets had long been trained to do, she commemorated events both public and private. With her famous song of farewell, Aloha Oi, she became the first of our composers to be widely heard outside Hawaii. She was also the first to put her words and music down on paper, bridging the gulf from voice to print. Liliuokalani's musical gifts were shared by three others in the royal family, sometimes referred to as Nalani Eha, the Four Chiefs. They were all talented performers who composed songs we still hear today. Her sister, Princess Miriam Likelike, her younger brother, Prince William Leleuhoku, and her older brother, David Kalakaua, Hawaii's last king, who was, like her, both ruler and poet. They attended the royal school established in Honolulu in the mid-1800s for the children of ali'i, or chiefly families. Here, they received a formal English education, which included scales, chords, and harmony. The Nalani Eha lived in two worlds. They had been schooled in chant and oral poetry, yet they came of age just as the full flood of Western music poured toward these islands. Christian hymns, brass bands, folk songs, guitars, organs, pianos, light opera. During this era of rapid transition, no one had more influence than Henry Berger, the German conductor and arranger who came to Honolulu from Berlin to lead the Royal Hawaiian Band.
I know everybody talks about, well, Did Henry Berger teach the royal families their music education? I think the foundation was at the Royal School. I believe the foundation was at that point. What happens is that when Berger comes to Hawaii in 1872, he just expands that whole knowledge, brings out the latent musical abilities of the ali'i by sharing with them more or other forms of music from Europe. A lot of it was just simple, sweet melodies by Milacher or Lehar, or like Strauss, you know, la-dee-dee, lee-da-da, lee-da-da. You have that. When Berger's doing this, you know, in his music, oh, the ali'i, they say, wow, what a beautiful shape in the melody.
During the time of our ali'is or our monarchs, during that particular time, you hear the variations, how they go from one style to another style, from one style to another style. A really good example of that to me, because I'm in hula, is Hole Waimea. And Hole Waimea, when and then it went to what we do, what we call mele hula. So we put a rhythm to it. So that we could dance to it. And so you see, it went from that stage to this stage, and then today we sing, Ole vai mea ika ihea kamakani. So, you know, to me, that's an ultimate mele, from taking it to a very serious genealogical, stating the different ranks kind of chant, to more melodical hula type chant, and now today an even more melodical song.
It's like any art form. I'm sure if the old time people who sang, who only did oli and mele, all of a sudden seeing their melodies, their chants, the old chants, going to modern melodies. I'm kind of wonder. I didn't live during that time, but I always wondered if they said, "Hey, why is that Helele Hoku doing? You know, taking that Hole Waimea. I mean, Hole Waimea. Well, why is he doing that? You know, Hole Waimea ika ihia kamakani. That's about ku na God, ku, and the spears coming down. But then also Helele Hoku could do the Hole Waimea. Takes the whole shape of the song. I wonder if they had a discussion back then, and they would say, "Oh, I don't know what these young people are going to."
No matter what age our musicians are and what their fancy is or what is popular at that particular time, they still maintain a certain level of Hawaiianness about their music. You know, whether it's the words or whether it's the, you know, who they are as Hawaiians, there's still a certain level of Hawaiianness about their music. And in my mind, they have to maintain this certain level of Hawaiianness because this is where they live. And they, despite the fact that they're being influenced by all of these different things being introduced, they're still being influenced by their environment.
If I say that to you now, I mean, you now experience being up on that hill, being next to the forest of that wind, that Hole Waimea as its source. You understand now the pain that they felt because the wind stings the body and hits their skin. You become now the witness of the occurrence. You become now a part of that experience. You know, you feel the wind of the wind that's coming.
When Kalakaua died unexpectedly in 1891, Liliuokalani took her brother's place to become queen. 2 years later, the monarchy is overthrown by a cartel of businessmen with support from the United States Marines, thus ending the rule of Hawaii by Hawaiians. It began a century of overwhelming change. Soon another kind of power is taken from us when the government banned the use of our native language in public offices, in courts, and in the schools. As English officially replaced Hawaiian, older ways of life continued to disappear or go underground, like the traditional chant and hula, waiting for the cultural tide to turn. This song by Prince William Leleohoku is a bridge from our own time to that time before the overthrow. As relevant today as when the prince composed it more than 100 years ago, Kanaiaupuni calls on all Hawaiians to stand together.
Hawaii keeps changing, and so does our music. Yet the songs of today and yesterday tell the story of our people and the story of all the changes. And so they continue to bring us together. Whenever I feel our way of life slipping away, I play the songs I have learned. I know then that the Hawaii I love is still with us.
Through dark times and joyful times, from generation to generation, the chants and songs are passed along, songs made of words and earth and the binding energy of the human spirit we call Aloha.
First you teach them the word. After you teach them the word, and then you give them glimpses of what the past was, what the present is. And then after that, you have to lay it at their feet, and then they have to move forward with it. They'll make their decisions. Whatever decisions they make, of course, will be a part of what they feel inside their spirit, and how that spirit relates to our land here, our Hawaii.
Today they write a lot of songs, and they write, but I don't think they can ever recapture that deep meaning, you know, the kauna, you know, like they did in old when they wrote something that was so deep and so meaningful, you know. And today I think we've kind of lost it, and the whole reason we live in another time, another era, you know, like the song said, "Ua pau ua halalako, ko ino na pua." We're gone, you know. Their time is past, you know. We're into a new era here, so we are all victims of what we see and what we hear, what we grow up with. That's what we are. And like when I figure in people in my age, when we pass away, there's an era that has passed already, and the younger ones come up. They have their own songs.
We don't write enough songs about today, about now, about our relationship with our family and our relationship with, you know, the things around us. And if we write about that, it'll keep today alive.
After all these centuries, music is still at the center of Hawaiian cultural life. It is like the lava, which takes many forms, yet stays connected to the source. I ho'okahi kahi pu'uai, be of one heart. I ho'okahi kahi kamana'o, be of one mind. I ho'okahi ke aloha, be of one love. E mau e ka ea o ka aina I ka pono, and the life of the land will be perpetuated in righteousness.
Kai